We are here tonight to talk about Is It Too Late? Communication in our mature women and men with Rett syndrome. And I am Susan Norwell, educational specialist and co-founder of Rett University. My email's on the front. We are always happy to hear from everybody. Hey, Stephanie, glad to see you. A lot of familiar faces coming in for these webinars. We love it. And I am here with Courtney Barnum. Courtney, you can introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney Barnum. I am Susan's partner in crime, and I am an educational specialist and also very lucky to be a sibling of an angel with Rett.
So there we go. So, funny story. My sister arrived today with a bracelet for me that says on the front of it, Silent Angels. And she could tell by the look on my face that I was less than thrilled. She goes, "Is there a problem?" I said, "We don't really like that thing about silent angels at Rett University. We are all about giving them their own voice, their own way of communicating, and we don't believe in treating them like they are some helpless little people or big people." So she said, "Well, turn it over. On the back it says Rett." I said, "Okay, I'll wear it upside down." So just so you know that we are really committed here of changing that whole persona of the silent angel like marketing strategy that another organization has, because we are really finding, supporting, and working our tails off to make sure that children, adults get a way to communicate. And I think largely that adults have been ignored. I think that people think at some point, if your kiddo is past like 25, 26, or even Mindy, who's going to be 60 this month, then whoa, it's just too late. We cannot go back and give them communication. And we're just here to say that's rubbish. So there's my...
And Susan, I'm going to jump in really quick because and actually this is the perfect one to show. My journey started, my sister was lived with Rett for 51 years. And I went to my first Rett U training and got Susaned, as I call it, in 2015. And I was watching the videos of her, and I saw her working with older girls. And the first thing I said to her was, "I want to be you when I grow up." And the second thing I said to her was, "Is it too late for my sister?" And she looked at me and she said, "It is never too late for them to communicate." So in this picture, as you can see, I do not get emotional very often. I am not an emotional person. But the day that my sister said, "I love you" on her Toby, I cried for 4 hours because it was the best day of my life. The second best day was when she told me off on her Toby. But at 50 years old, we trialed the Toby with my sister and got to hear her talk. We got to have a FaceTime conversation. Now, was it, magical full sentences? No. But was it were we able to make some conversation with our sister via FaceTime? As a sibling, you do not know how magical that moment was for my sister and I. We were like, oh my God, we're getting to have a conversation with our sister. So it is something that both Susan and I believe in very, very strongly, in that it is never, ever, ever, ever too late to get them started on communication.
Yeah, and I think the idea that communication is just a human right and that it doesn't dissipate just because of age is important. And I also think that we have to give people who are older and experiencing AAC for the first time, we have to give them a lot of grace, which means that we can't be so excited about what they're going to say to us that we scare them half to death and they don't do anything. And so they've been taking in a lot of information over the years, but they've had no practice in the output. And when you think about that, little bitties have practice with output, even if it's just gestural at first. But our kids are kind of robbed of even the gestural communication because of their Rett syndrome. And so for our older clients, my older people, I say, what ends up happening is there's this long history of learned helplessness. This long history of people saying, "Oh, she doesn't really, I know what she wants." That's my favorite. I know what she wants. Really, she can convey that she wants liberty, that she wants equality, that she has something sensational to say, and that she's feeling dismayed. We can't relegate people to happy, sad, yes, and no and expect that that's the width and breadth of what they might be trying to communicate. And so I have two hats I wear when I'm working with an adult. One is, man, I'm going to give them every opportunity they have to communicate. I'm going to give them everything I can throw at them, basically. I'm going to give them every opportunity. But the other half of me is saying, slow your roll, Norwell. Don't be so adamant about what you think they should, could, would, have to do. It's probably my most relaxed sessions because I really give them a lot of time. Every little thing they do gets reinforced. Every little thing doesn't get reinforced by a good job. It gets like, you know what, I see you looking at your device. That's going to really help you learn what I'm doing. Just little things in a soft voice that help them know that those little steps are being recognized. Because if I were like Mindy, you're going to see a video of Mindy. She is 60 years old. She was 57 when she got her first device. 57 years of having people think she didn't know anything. And then now all of a sudden I show up and say, oh, by the way, you're going to talk with this thing. Like, can you imagine what that would be like? We all think, because we have been speaking our whole lives, that they're going to go, oh my gosh, thank goodness I have this thing. I'm going to tell you everything I've ever wanted to say. No way. No, we have to get through a lot of hurdles with all of that learned helplessness that has happened over the years. All right, so Courtney, this is your video. You want to give it an intro before I play it?
Yes, and again, I'm going to preface this was when I trialed the suit, and I again had not gone through all of my training with Susan. So there are some things I said that are like not exactly what we do now at Rett U, but I was learning at the time. So,
hey.
And this was one of the final days that we had the device, and I was kind of talking to Christy about just things in general, and seeing what she was doing with the device to get her to talk, to see what she would say to me, and just I think the biggest thing I want you guys to notice is the smile on her face when she had an ability to communicate, and the fact that she was really just enjoying being able to converse even in the smallest way with me. So,
okay, here we go.
Right. What am I right about?
You're right.
That you're smart? I know I'm right. You are. You're probably the smartest one in the family. Do you agree? Do you think you're the smartest one in the family? I think you are. So tell me something else, smarty pants. Tell me something else, smarty pants. What else are you going to tell me?
There was food involved in this, I can tell.
Sorry. What else are you going to tell me? Come on.
M&Ms.
Thirsty bee, eyes back over here.
You're right. You're right.
I love that you're telling me you're right. And I have it on video.
So
She liked that "you're right" button, especially when I would make really sarcastic comments to her, and she would say "you're right," because our family is very sarcastic. But one of the things, it was just like I said, it may not seem like much, but for her to be able to converse and show just how much, that smile on her face, I don't know about you guys, but they just, to me, when she looked at me and she was like, I love, you could just tell how much she loved having that conversation with me. So,
right. What am I right about?
Whoops, hold on.
You're right.
Oh, I have to go this way. So sorry, I'm hitting the wrong place. All right. So I'll go through the writing, and then you can, is this one of your clients? Oh, you have your microphone off, honey.
Yes, this is one of my girls. Sorry.
Okay, it's all right. So what are your good goals for your mature communicator? Remember that emergent communicators are learning a new language. Think about if you all of a sudden just got dropped into, France, and you had to start speaking French. What that would be like for you. You would spend a lot of time listening and trying things out and not being really verbal at first. And we don't expect them to be really in there, hitting everything they possibly can. Make meaning. We're gonna talk about adults kind of the same way that we talk about our really littles when they're starting to learn a new language. You know, we make meaning, watch where their eyes go, everything that they kind of hover over, but maybe don't hit it, hold it long enough for it to say anything. All those are approximations that we want to reinforce and give credit to. We need to model their new language and pause. And I think with adults, I always say, like with kids, you know, it's like a 10 to 1. 10 model and then they say something. I think with adults, it can be 20 to 30 things you say before they say something. And here's the important thing about that is not to get discouraged because it's not happening fast enough. That's a our issue. That is not a them issue. That's an our issue. And we have to be happy and supportive with what they give us. That isn't to say that we don't want more, that we're not going to model more. It just says that the minute we get our back up and start to think that we've got to force them to do something is when an adult is going to backpedal on us. Adults who are in that 30 to 60-year-old range, they didn't have much schooling. They didn't have much of anything. They didn't have anybody, even their parents, for a great deal of time believing that they had anything in there, because I didn't start in the field till 35, 37 years ago with my message of, hey, I got this kid misdiagnosed with autism. Guess what? She has Rett, and I taught her how to read. I think maybe we have to rethink this only develops to 18-month-old thing. Before that, there was nobody out there saying anything but they get to 18 months and that's it. So not only did their families have that sense, it had been drilled into them. We still have doctors today. A doctor told one of my families, you know, he's going to be in a wheelchair the rest of his life, but he's probably not going to know what a wheelchair is. What? Kids reading. Kids identifying words. You know, what is that? What kind of thing is that to say? That's a doctor who needs to get out more, you know. He's like not quite with what we're talking about. So we model and we pause and we give them a robust system, because we're not going to give them just a yes or no and 7 buttons and expect to have a conversation with them. It's just not going to work. Just like it doesn't work with little kids. It's really interesting. I once had a client I went to see who had an IMAX, an old Tobii Dynavox. It had one button on it, and the button said hi. And then from hi, it went to how are you? And then from how are you, it went to fine. And the speech therapist said to me, I don't understand why she's not using it. I said, wonder if she's not fine. And I said, what about her apraxia? They said, well, how apraxic can that be? She's only got to hit one button. I said, exactly. She has to hit that one button. I don't care how big you've made it. It's still just one button that she's got to hit. But besides that, wonder if she's not fine. Wonder if you've just made her say things for your own sake that she doesn't really want to say. I had a few things I wanted to say that I didn't say to her. I will say.
Or with my sister, where they told when she had a director of her home that was male, and he re-recorded all of her words in male, and he's like, she won't use, it was a Big Mac button, and he was like, she won't use it. And I said, well, that's because she's not male.
She's not a man.
And he was like, what do you mean? I said, she's not a man. She doesn't have one of those, so she doesn't want to talk like a man. She wants to talk like a female. And he was like, well, we didn't have time to, and I said, well, then maybe you could have one of the females here that, you know, and record it, or have me record it so she has something. But again, it was that same thing of more, or like Stephanie just said, what if she wants to ask, how are you? You know, or she doesn't want to tell you how she is or whatever. I mean, people forget that our kids have, like our adults have, my sister had an attitude. Let me tell you what, she was not all sweetness and light every minute of the day. I love her to death, but she was not sweetness and light. And there was days where she did not want to talk, and she did not want to converse with us, or she did not want to be part, you know, there was days where she was not.
She's allowed.
And she was allowed to be.
Yeah. All right. This is your video, right? Yep. That's you.
This is my video. This is my Autumn, and Autumn has had her device for she got it right before COVID, but has not been able to use it because they weren't sure how to use it. So we finally have been able to start getting her involved. So I have 2 videos I think I put up her on here. This is the very first day that I've ever seen or visited, did a virtual session with Autumn. And what I really want you guys to see is more her nonverbal language, because she was at first you can tell she was like very overwhelmed by the device. We have a robust communication system on there. She's very overwhelmed. You can see it. But as I was kind of watching her, I respond to the things she is saying, and I respond to her nonverbal language as well. And that was the moment, like you'll see it in here, that's when she started responding back to me. And then you'll see in the second video where she really starts, interacting with her device more.
Okay. So let me get down here.
Do you want to tell me I'm crazy? Or go away? Oh! Is that what you're trying to tell me? That you want to go away?
She looks so much like Mindy.
But yeah, you see, she looked right at me when I said, oh, are you trying to tell me go away? And she was like,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
got me. You understood my nonverbal language. And that was the moment after that she started interacting a little bit more with her device, interacting more with me. She was like, you are listening to me. You're understanding what I'm saying. And then this was the second visit I saw with her. Her mom's actually sitting behind her. And we were reading Dragons Love Tacos, because even if you're an adult, I love that book. And we were reading it. And she actually started to interact more with the device.
Some cheddar cheese. You gotta have the cheese. All right, Miss Autumn. I'm wondering if you think I, going to my reading page, should turn page. And you can tell me, hey, Courtney. Turn page. Please. All right, I'm going to turn that page and see what happens next. Hey.
Something bad's going to happen.
Oh, you want some more? Okay. All right, I'm coming. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Dragon, how do you feel about spicy toppings? And you must have read this book before, because you already said, yeah, bad. It is not good at all. It is not good at all. Have you read this book before, Miss Autumn? Or are you just really smart and really good at making predictions? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the page.
Or you could also tell her more.
Yeah, you could tell me more. You could tell me turn the page. You could say, hey. You read. Your turn. I'm going to take a drink, okay?
It's always good to pause. Take a drink, and then they figure out what they want to say. All right, so this is Haley. Haley is 35. She just got her device, I'd say 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. Mom is amazing with the device. We're just talking about how it's going to be a great thing that Dad, they live apart, that Dad's going to start using the device with her. So that's the context of this conversation.
Bears. Help. Help.
Oh,
Help.
you know what? I think it will help. I think it will help you. Because you can tell people exactly, you can tell people what you're feeling.
Had. Done.
Right. What
Yeah,
you have
done.
done.
Because
yeah. Maybe you have tried to tell them in your way, but it wasn't very clear. And now, yes, if you want something to stop, you can tell people to stop. Yeah. This gives you a lot of power to tell.
Think.
You think, what do you think? You're thinking that could be a really good thing. I'm thinking it could be a very strong thing. Yes, a very strong thing. You see her
Because I
eyebrows
think
going
you're
up?
a very
That's her
strong
yes. woman. And very brave. And I think when you have words, you can tell people what you think. Yep. You can tell them to stop if you want them to stop something. You can tell them to go.
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 If
Whoa,
you want them to
big
keep
eyebrows up.
going and you want some more.
Mhm.
But if you don't, you can say not
Mhm.
and stop.
Thing.
So she has a pretty classic yes in terms of her eyebrows go way up and you see this big smile for her yes. Well, not a big smile. She's a pretty serious woman, but she's got this big bright-eyed yes. So that combined with what she was saying, you could really see that she was excited about finally having her voice kind of go all of the locations that she's going. Interesting, I had like probably the second session with her. At the end of the session, I said, I think I have to confess to you that I like really know you're smart already. And if you're worried about having to prove anything to me, you can kind of let that go because I already know that you're smart. Mom had read to her a lot. They had done Khan Academy together. She had been fully included in school, though nobody knew what to do with her. She was there geographically, but at least she was listening to good education and good vocabulary. So there's just a lot in there. And Mom said afterwards that they had the best talk about how relieved she felt, how she felt less scared, she felt a lot more confident that I knew that she had stuff in there. And I think that's a great message. I don't know exactly what's in there. I'm not saying she knows everything there is, but she's working on one of the first books I read to her was The Boy Who Grew Flowers. It's about a boy who grows flowers out of his head. It's an amazing story about kindness. And at the end I said, I think you could probably describe this boy for me. And I took out my ABC flip book. I had no idea if she knew her letters, knew her sounds. I'm just like, okay, we're going to write because everybody writes. And she spelled Kind. Kind. The boy was kind. So it's never too late. Never, ever, ever too late.
Bears.
Okay. So, now I need to go back because I jumped the gun. All right, now I'm going to show you kind of like what it looks like when you have a terrified adult with you. Because I think it's only fair to show both sides of the coin. There we've got Haley kind of just like, I'm going to tell you everything I possibly can, and I'm going to do the spelling, I'm going to do everything. This is Mindy, who just turned 60 this month. I see her at her group home every other week. And my favorite thing that she did a couple of weeks ago, I'm feeding her lunch, and I said, will you let me know when you want something else? And she went, now, with her device. Of all the words, she picked now. I'm like, okay, I've got the point. When I first met her, she came into my office, she sat down for a half hour and then stood up and walked to the door. She had had way more than enough of me. She has a really good look to you for yes. She got the idea of using the yes/no board, and I put the device in front of her. She didn't look at it one single time the entire time we were together. This is around maybe 3 or 4 sessions in, and I'm sorry these you're not going to see her adorable face, but I was giving video to the speech therapist so that she had some video in the case of when we got there for the eval to get her a device, she did nothing, because that often happens. New environment, new people. Now I know I'm under pressure, and oh my gosh, I'm going to not do anything. So she could use the video to take data so that we got the device, which was great. So let's, oh, hold on. How come I'm not seeing the thing to the video? Isn't that weird? Oh, there it is.
I'd say, hello, hi, hello.
That was her saying
Awesome
hello.
to see you.
How's it going?
Do you know what?
Did she say how's it going?
Yeah, it's going really awesome. I'm having a really good, I got up really early, diffused some high energy stuff, and I'm like rocking and rolling, ready to go. Should crash around 7:30 tonight,
Yeah.
probably. I'll go out and take a run because I think it's a beautiful day. I think it's cool outside.
Cool.
But nice. Here, I'm going to bring your hand down so we just knock it over. I know.
Hello.
Do you remember what we did last time? I kind of held this one.
Yeah.
I kind of held this
Your mom
one.
didn't forget when she gets home.
No, you don't want me to do that. I won't. Then I won't. Then I won't. But
Do you see the two things that she just lit up that didn't speak
I'm not
word
gonna
gotta
let you,
go,
I'm not gonna let you
and I'm
grab
done.
the device. So we're gonna calm your body. Right? No, we're not gonna grab the device. We're going to get ourselves a little settled down because it's very cool to see you. And I think you might be having, something's not so good. So here's what I wonder.
Oh my.
I see you being a little agitated, and here's my guess. You are so smart that when I tried to sneak in the camera behind you,
think
I
so?
saw you looking right at it as you walked over. Is that the issue? Is it the camera that has you all upset? Yeah, that's just grabbing. I need your eyes. Again, that's grabbing. I need your eyes.
Use your eyes. You know.
Is it the camera that has you all famished? Eyes. No, it's not the camera. Okay. So is it just one of those days, Mindy? Could be that it's just one of those days where your body is just rocking and rolling. Yes. Yes.
So it always amazes me when I look at a video and see what I missed. But she actually, after I said cool, she right away went to cool, and I missed that she did it, probably because I was worried about her knocking the device over. And then she said something wasn't so good. But she also said gotta go at one point, like I need to get out of here. She is now combining 2 and 3 words. She uses Grid Supercore 30 and is putting 3 words together, not consistently, but I mean, that's the most she's put together. She does a lot of single words. She does some double words. But she's very calm using her talker now. It's not like we have this a desire to be knocking it over. I think she finally saw the value of it, and she realized that it could be helpful, particularly around food. She loves to eat, though you wouldn't know it by looking at her. She's a twig. But I go to COVID right now has her adult day program shut down for people that can't tolerate a mask. She cannot tolerate a mask, so she cannot be there. But right before COVID, we were doing a cooking activity, and she was saying, want some. I said, I'm telling you, it's too hot, and if I give you a bite, it's going to burn your mouth. And she said, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. I don't really care how hot it is. So I think that you can look at kind of 2 different adults and 2 different approaches, but you can't say one is better than the other. Because this has increased Mindy's communication. How many percentages? She had nothing. You know, I don't know how do you multiply by 0 and come up with a number. But, you know, and Haley had people that knew her blinking was a yes, and they knew that her eyebrows up were a yes. But Mindy was raised in an institution. That's what the doctor advised the parents, and that's what she was in her entire life, from the time she was little. So for her to be able to have a voice, probably was when that got approved. I think it might have been my happiest day ever, because I was so happy for her. So happy for her. So again, I think that if you're the kind of person that likes to set goals and make sure that things happen, don't work with adults who have Rett syndrome that are getting a device, because you have to be really kind. I think you have to slow yourself down. I think you have to be really empathic and understand how scary this probably is to them. You have to be able to talk about emotions and say, you know, this must be scary. It's all new. This is so different. And maybe you're even wondering if I'm expecting you to say things. I put everything out there, and I find that really helps them relax, so that they have an understanding that it's a safe place. I'm not saying it shouldn't be that way for all people. I'm just saying for our adults, I think it's especially important. I wonder how many times in their lives they were told that they did something wrong because people weren't reading their cues. How many times were they just kind of left at the back of the room because nobody knew what to do with them? So, and then you arrive, you know, all excited because you've got a device to share with them, and hope that that's going to just change it overnight. And it doesn't. It takes time. It takes time.
Well, it's like, Susan, I posted the other day, I had a Facebook memory that came up, and it was about my sister. And we had, my other sister lived in Africa for a while, so we Christy got very good at Skyping, where we would, I would take my laptop over and we would Skype with Carrie so Carrie could see her and Christy could see Carrie. And I get a phone call from her caregiver who had taken her to the dentist that day, and she couldn't figure out what was going on with Christy. But the dentist had her laptop sitting right next to the dentist chair. And Christy kept looking at the thing, then looking at her caregiver, Yvonne, then looking back at the laptop, like back and forth. And Yvonne didn't know, so she sits there and she's like, oh yeah, look at the butterfly, look at that. And Christy clasps her hands back together, puts a big old frown on her face and leans back and shuts her eyes like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because you're not giving me what I want. She was expressing, now mind you, Yvonne did not know the context of what we had done, what we did when I saw her. But, Christy wasn't being listened to. And so she was mad. She was like, why bother being, expressing myself in the way I know how when nobody's going to listen to me. And that happens more so, unfortunately, for our older girls and boys than it does for our younger girls, because, people...
Different expectations now.
Different expectations. Yeah. I mean, my mom, even when we got the Toby, God love her, but she still believed after living with Christy and our family and our sarcasm and everything else for years and seeing Christy laughing at our parents' sarcasm, she still believed what the doctor said, that Christy was at an 18-month-old level. And I was like, yeah, no, she's not. No. So they were brought up in a very different time when the expectation was that there was no expectation.
Right. And I think the important thing for parents and for us to be careful when we're talking with parents is that there really doesn't need to be a guilt trip over this because you don't know what you don't know. I think that's really important. But the other thing is, I think these bullets are important. It's like, remember that they take in everything and they understand what's being said. So now you have to spend time kind of coaching the doctors and coaching the caretakers, in terms of, okay, you don't just throw clothes on them in the morning. Can they let you know what they want to wear? Can they let you know what they want to eat? How about if you sit down at the table and plan a meal together? Who wants to have I got 4 choices. What do you want to have on Monday? Do you want spaghetti or do you want, mac and cheese? I don't know. Whatever they've got. Why are we not treating our adults like adults instead of treating them like babies? They don't need to be babysat. They need to be cared for. So we talk about things, even things that are difficult, and that's a link to a webinar I did on talking about things that are difficult. And one of the harder things, I was with one of my adults who's now 34, actually my aha girl, the one that I had at 3, who was misdiagnosed with autism, and her grandmother died, and they did not let her come to the funeral, and she was pissed. She was angry. They thought it would not be appropriate for her. And I went, this grandmother and her were so close. And so we spent a lot of time talking about the feelings. She was expressing she was having a hard time sleeping. She was having a hard time thinking. And I said, when my mom died, my mom died right around the same time. I said, I got to tell you, I feel the same way. And for her, that was so important that she had a way to talk about those feelings and know that they weren't abnormal. At least not as abnormal as I am. So she was at least in the same boat as me. Trying to get people to speak to them age appropriately, to make sure the language they're not babying down the language and doing these like silly games to make them laugh. That you coach parents as to how it takes some time and not to be pushing them, say goodbye, say hello. It's like, when you have a 2-year-old and you're saying goodbye and you say to the 2-year-old, say goodbye to grandma, and they say nothing. And then you get in the car and they go, bye, 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 bye. That's the typical adult. Same thing. Is you just got to be as laid back as you possibly can. And the other thing is that they need to hear about what's going on in the world, not just their wants and needs. I talk politics with my adults. I talk the weather. I talk about, oh no, it's changing and it's getting darker and I can't stand it, and this is what I did over the weekend. And so everything is open for discussion, not just what they want and not just what they need. Because if your life is relegated to wants and needs, it's kind of boring.
Well, I joked with Christy when we were working on the device, and I said to her, I said, you know, if we end up getting this device, I said, I'm paying for it. You know, my partner and I are paying for it. So I said, you're not allowed to tell any of my secrets, because Christy was my sounding board. So she knew like everything. So I was like, God, she's going to get a device and she's going to start telling everybody my secrets, and I'm going to be in big trouble.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, like be careful what you say in front of whom. Here's our email addresses. If you have any questions or any ideas for future webinars that we can do, as always, it's just our pleasure to have you all join us. Anybody have any questions? Anything they want to add or say? Y'all are just good listeners, huh? Yeah. So I just think that I think adults hold a special place, and it seems like just when I'm learning about one, another one comes along, and I'm pretty excited by that. I now have like 5, 20 and over, and my mid are being way over. But it's a different, you know, it's just it's different for them, but it's great. So really happy technology came along in time for them. So everybody have a good evening, and we will see you next month. Yeah, Candace.
More quick. This is funny because I was watching a news report from, like a journalistic report from Johns
Hopkins. Johns Hopkins.
Anyway, he's a journalist.
Oh, okay.
I'll just send it to you. But he was talking about the positive developments that have been going on. And they showed a rhesus monkey playing a Super Nintendo, well, not Super Nintendo, excuse me, Pong. The monkey was playing Pong, but the controller was not attached. It was his mind.
Yes.
He was using
it's like neurofeedback
in his brain.
Yep.
Yes, to control the game. And all I thought was, that's where we're going, and that it's like watching NeuroNode.
It is. I did neurofeedback for my migraines. That's how I got rid of them. I just sat with a cap on my head and I watched Pong or like whatever it was, whatever video game. And when my brain went the right direction, it kept going. And when my brain went the wrong direction, it stopped. And my brain learned not to go down the migraine road and not to, and just to stay on a different path.
It's really cool.
Oh no, 4 sessions done.
That's really neat.
Yeah, no medicine. It was great. All right. Bye, everybody.
Said something.
See you next month.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See
Thank
you.
you. Bye.